I know that we had gone back and forth and just life, and we had to reschedule a couple times. So, cut to now where we're finally getting this done. So, thank you for being patient, and we're getting back onto the guest train, so to speak, on the podcast, because I think the stories, whether it's the same loss, because no loss is the same, no, even if it's in the same category, it's also different. I think that your loss is different, and for someone listening, they can easily pluck out little tidbits that resonate with them, regardless of what stage they're in, or what phase they're in, or what category they're in. So, thank you for coming on. I know it's challenging to do this. It's usually fun to talk to lost mamas, but it is the subject matter where sometimes it's things we haven't talked about in a long time, um, or it's an opportunity to say our baby's names we don't get to a lot. So while it is, drenched in sadness, there is some lovely aspects to telling our baby's story too. So thanks for coming on and doing this.
Yeah, no, I'm very, very honored. Your podcast was one I listened to when I was in the hospital with Caroline, and we were living in the hospital, and we'll get there. But it was I couldn't listen to music, I couldn't listen to anything, and I needed to hear other stories. And that was the only thing that could kind of, when I had to shower or, spend time alone and I couldn't be with her, I needed something. I needed to hear something. And your podcast filled that filled that silence, that awful silence of my head just thinking of the future and thinking of
Mm.
what might happen and what eventually did happen. So this is a
How did you
true
find it?
honor.
Just how did you? Because
You know,
that's you're saying exactly why it was created, and I have done nothing really, but just put it out there, and it got into your hands, and I'm so thankful that somebody told you about it, or that you found it. Like, I'm just thankful for that, because I know those silence to God, showers were the worst. I completely,
showers,
yeah,
right?
just no one would imagine like why we smell. It's because we don't want to get in there by ourselves in the silence. Yeah.
Yep.
Oy.
Um, I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in her room because she had her own room in the CVICU, and I was on Instagram of all places, and I don't even remember what I searched, but I searched something, and like maybe child life support, like horrible, horrible stuff, because
Ooh.
I needed that connection in that moment. I needed somebody else, because in that moment you feel like you're the only person in the world going through it, and I knew I wasn't. And I came across your podcast, and I looked through all your episodes, and Caroline had Ebstein's Anomaly, and I saw that Allie came
Noel.
on
Yeah.
with her daughter Noelle, and so that was the first one I listened to, and I listened to that in the shower. As weird as that sounds, but I listened to it, and it felt like, oh my gosh. And Caroline's middle name was Noelle, so I
Oh my
felt like an
gosh.
instant
Have you
connection.
have you talked to her?
Oh yeah, we're
Okay.
close. We talk a lot.
You have no idea. I want to be the yellow pages for lost moms, and like like that's so old, but like that is so incredible. I'm so happy that you guys have connected. I was just talking to her earlier. Whoa, that's so weird. We haven't
Oh,
talked
that's
in a few
weird.
weeks, but we were talking just this morning. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay,
That's
chills.
so
I
funny.
like when our babies are like, "Hey bitches, get together."
Yes. Oh yeah. Yep.
This is what it looks like. Okay, so oof. I I'm sure the hospital was giving phenomenal resources. I mean, at least I hope, but I don't know if you were like me. I'm going to go ahead and recognize our losses are extremely different, and I will respect the differences in our losses. But I remember the hospital like bringing people or women resources to me, and I was the first thing I want to be like, before you talk, have you done this before? And you couldn't really do that, but like I may have on a bunch of morphine blurted out, like, have you had a dead baby? And one of them was like, I have. But it was like, and she gave like some random, and I was like, get me someone who has done this. Let's go. Like, I can't. Yeah. So I'm happy that it helped, because that feeling like you're not alone. somehow is comforting, even though it's horrible finding someone else has been through this. And in some way, it released some sort of guilt or blame a little bit. Like, I would never blame her for the decisions that she made. So why would I blame myself kind of thing? Yeah. Well, I'm so happy you guys have connected. She's such a doll. Okay. So in order to get to the point of where we're having this conversation, take us back, include as much information as you'd like to.
Yeah.
Deep breath. Yeah.
So there's a lot. So if I forget something, then I have to go, oh wait, I have to go back.
That's fine.
Um,
That's how our brains work. It's totally fine.
yeah. So my husband and I really started trying in January of 2022.
Mhm.
We didn't, I mean, we just pulled the goalie. Isn't that how it starts? Like, you're just like, we'll get pregnant and it'll be great. Um, so I mean, like five months went by, I wasn't worried about it. We planned a trip to Tahiti. Like, it was like, okay. And then in June, and this is important, there was a bunny that would visit us every single day. We'd see it in our backyard through the window. We named her Beans. It's just a bunny that would come and visit. She came every single day, would hang out. Jordan would barbecue. She'd sit there.
Oh,
Then she stopped coming. She just stopped coming one day, and we were like, oh, we haven't seen her in a while. And I found out I was pregnant. And Caroline was due in 2023, year of the rabbit.
oh,
So so bunnies are like her sign.
I love it.
So pregnancy was honestly amazing. I I had food aversions, but nothing big. We went to Tahiti. It was our friend's 40th and also our baby moon. I was 26 weeks pregnant. She was incredible. She was easy. At our 20-week scan, nothing came up abnormal other than she was measuring small. She was measuring small. They didn't seem worried. They just said, come back in your third trimester and we'll just check on her. Great. Go to Tahiti, fine. Come home. Our scan was the week I got back, and I got COVID in Tahiti. On our flight back, I was feeling really sick, came home, tested. Wasn't sure if I was going to make the appointment. Ended up testing negative that morning or the day before, whatever. Go into the appointment. They do an ultrasound on her and look at her, and something's a little bit off with her heart. The right ventricle was a little bit large. And so they wanted me to get an echo just to, check it out. At this point, I was worried, but my husband's family is in medicine, and we kind of told them, and they were doing research, and we tried to stay calm as best as we can, because the 20-week scan or the 20-week anatomy scan was fine. Like, they would have picked something up, that's kind of our thinking. So we go to the echo, and I'll never forget it. It was, I think, December 21st, 2022. And, the imaging tech or whatever they call it, she was very quiet. They're so quiet. Why are they so quiet? So she was scanning and didn't say anything. And, we were asking, like, how is everything looking? She was like, I can't tell you. And the doctor came in and he started taking some images and scanning, and they weren't really talking to me. They weren't talking to either of us. And so we were like, is this normal? And my husband goes, I'm sure everything's okay. The doctor says, no, it's not. Your daughter has a very serious heart condition.
Mm. Was
And
this
I'm
an
laying on the
OB,
bed.
or was this a maternal fetal medicine?
This was a fetal cardiologist.
Oh, you were at a fetal cardiologist. Oh, for the echo. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so this was a
Yes. Yeah.
specialist.
For
Okay,
the
got
echo.
it. Got
Yes.
it. Yeah.
So he broke the news. He didn't tell me what it was. He just kind of said that. And I was he had to take more pictures. That's probably why he wasn't saying anything, is because he had to focus and take more take more pictures of her. And I was just sobbing on the bed. I was crying. The tech had to hand me tissues. Like, my husband was quiet. Like, he was in shock. And I just will never forget that. Like, just him just going totally quiet. Like, he couldn't believe it. And then they finished taking pictures, took us in a consultation room, kind of told us her tricuspid valve is like regurgitating, so it wasn't formed correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And so they weren't diagnosing it as Ebstein's anomaly. I can't remember why. And honestly, I didn't really pick up anything from that talk. Like, I thank God for our husbands, man. Like, my husband, they gave him a notebook and he started just taking notes.
Yeah.
Like, the doctor was drawing the heart and showing what was going on, and he was drawing it on the notebook, and I was just sitting there just in shock, just in
Mm-hmm.
shock.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to get like a second opinion, so we went to another place to get, and we were actually referred to by a friend of ours whose son had CHD, and so she knew kind of all the doctors and the doctors at Stanford. So she ultimately connected us with Stanford. You know, where we got her echo was local. I'm in Sacramento, so not close to Stanford. So we were just planning on staying local. And thank God for my girlfriend was like, no, go to Stanford, contact them immediately. So
Why did she feel called to say that to you?
So her son had CHD. Thankfully he's still alive, and he's got 6 or 7 now. He might be older. But so she, when he was born at Stanford, and you know, she was connected with all the doctors over there. So we instantly called her and we're like, what do we do? And she was like, don't wait, because this hospital that we got the echo at was like, come back in 4 weeks, you know, kind of just like, we'll see you in 4 weeks, go home. And she essentially said, no, don't wait that long.
Yeah.
So weird.
Because at this stage in your pregnancy, every day is a new development. Like, the baby grows so fast and develops so fast. So you have to get on things, like, if you need to. Yeah. Interesting that they told you to wait. Yeah.
Absolutely. And they told us, at this point, as long as she's inside you, she's safe.
Huh. Was that true?
No. No.
Okay. So the specialists in Sacramento were saying, keep her in, she's safer in you. So you go to Stanford. Okay.
So my husband, like I said, my husband's family is very connected in the healthcare space, thankfully. And one of his aunts knew a fetal cardiologist at Stanford.
Awesome.
Like, studied or did her residency with her, gave us her phone number. We contacted her. She's like, let's get on a call. We sent her all the echo images. Of course, at Stanford, they want to do their own. They're like, come down. Let's get you in. Let's see her. So we drove down. It's about 2.5 hours ish from where we live. We drove down. And at this point, I think I was like 31 weeks.
Oh, you're already in the third. Okay.
Yeah. And so we drove down. They take an echo, they get images, they pull us into a room, my favorite thing. And there's like 4 doctors in there. You know, it's not good when there's 4 doctors. And they told us they think it's Ebstein anomaly. Her tricuspid valve didn't form properly. Essentially, there's not enough pressure to pump blood to the rest of the body, which is why she's measuring small. They want to monitor me closely. They told us we need to move there in 2 days. Yeah. And
okay.
So this was a Friday. We had our next echo on Monday. And so we had to pack up everything and move, essentially.
Yeah.
So we did that, and it was during one of the worst storms in California. And so my husband was digging trenches in the backyard trying to make sure our house didn't get flooded while I'm putting Christmas decorations away.
Of course.
Uh,
Let me ask you, after hearing that see you in 4 weeks from the Sacramento people, and that she's safer in you, and then you go to Stanford and hear a wildly different opinion. What made you want to listen to the wildly different opinion? What was there a part of you that was like, no, 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 this is too aggressive. Like it's definitely, let's just stick with what Sacramento said. Or were you
no.
like, you knew immediately that they were right? Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Like, I mean, it's Stanford. I trust Stanford over anyone. They're one of the best, if not the best hospital in the nation. And they explained it and explained like why her heart essentially was, I think, oh gosh, 75% or 85%, took up 85% of her chest cavity, whereas the
Wow.
normal, I can't remember what the normal is. It's not that. It's a lot lower than
Of course. Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
um, so they essentially said, we need to get you here. We need to start monitoring you. We need to put you on NSAIDs, which is a big no-no, as pregnant women know. But they wanted to put me on endomethacin, and hopefully that would help open up. Oh God, I'm gonna forget some of this stuff, but open up. I think release some of the pressure, so
Mm.
there's not so much pressure, and to get the heart like circulating blood a little bit better. So essentially, she didn't develop fetal hydrops. That was the concern.
Did they give you like a prognosis? Did they say, oh, this is a death sentence? Or did they say, we're going to try to keep her comfortable for as long as we can? What were they saying as far
Yeah.
as like, or are they taking it like day by day kind of thing?
So at the other hospital in Sacramento, I asked that. I said, "Is my daughter going to die?" They said no. They said no, she's not. No, it's not a death sentence. She's gonna have heart surgery when she's born, but it's they gave me the impression that it will be fine. Like, not fine, but she'll have heart surgery, and that's the biggest risk. When I went to Stanford, they were very clear that it was very likely that once she's born, she will be put on ECMO, which is life support.
Mm-hmm.
I had never heard of ECMO, and they said it very, they said ECMO like it was a death sentence, and I was like, what the fuck is ECMO? Like, what is ECMO?
Yeah.
And I um I remember googling it, and then like, oh shit, like I don't know if I can do this. Like,
So
um
you knew, maybe didn't fully accept, but you were wrapping your head around the fact that you were going to carry, she was going to be born, and then she would die.
yeah.
And
Well,
they were putting it in the most medical terms possible, though.
yes. At
Okay.
this
Okay.
point, I didn't think she would die.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if she was going to live, if that makes sense. Like, I
A
was,
100%. Yeah. That
yes,
your mama brain was putting it that way. Yeah, absolutely.
yes.
And I'm sure they weren't looking at you dead in the face and telling you like the actual reality. Wow.
They said she was very sick. They just kept saying she was very sick. She's a very sick baby. And we need to walk the tightrope of, is she better out or in? And
Mm.
these next few weeks will tell us a lot, depending on how she reacts to the medication. So they put me on endo. I was taking, you should have seen me try to get it from the pharmacist. I tried to pick it up from the pharmacist. I was visibly pregnant. Pharmacist is like, I can't give this to you. I'm like, yes, you damn well can. Like, yeah, it was a whole thing. And I was like,
First
give
of all,
me this
pharmacists usually
medication.
don't know shit when I ask them, and it's wildly annoying. But yet they don't want it. They say they can't give you something. Okay, cool, whatever. Oy, that's frustrating.
Yeah, I pretty much demanded it. So I was taking that. Yeah, we packed up the car, drove. There's a Ronald McDonald out there, so we were working with a social worker.
Mm.
They got us a room. We went in for our echo. The endo wasn't working as well as they liked, so they wanted to put me on hyperoxygenation therapy, which is not a proven therapy. It's something that has worked in the past anecdotally, but couldn't hurt. And essentially what that is I'm strapped to oxygen 12 hours a day.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. Uh, um, but they didn't have a way of making the oxygen portable because they wanted to put me on ASAP. So I had to be admitted to the hospital. So the day we packed up, had everything in our car, ready to move into the Ronald McDonald House, they said, nope, you're staying in the hospital. So we lost the Ronald McDonald House.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't know when we would get another one. So we were in the hospital. I was perfectly healthy. She was not. And then I had an oxygen mask on my face for 12 plus hours a day. And yeah, I couldn't really walk around. This happened over 3 days I was in the hospital, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd get echoes, and based on her, so I would do echoes and then also do anatomy scans to just track her growth because she was small.
Mm-hmm.
And on one of the anatomy scans, they noticed that her femur and her leg and her arm was measuring 3 weeks behind.
Mm.
And so then they were kind of throwing around a genetic syndrome that she might have. And at this point, I could not take that in. I was like, I don't care. We need to focus on her heart. Like,
interesting. Yeah.
and they were asking me about, have you done any genetic testing? And I was, I did the typical, what, I don't know what the early one is. I did the typical
NIPT. Yeah.
NIPT. Everything came back fine. But they were throwing this around. I was like, I cannot think about this right now. And at this point, I had an MFM. She came in and she was like, so based on her measurements, she is too small to be put on ECMO if she were to come out now.
I remember
so
this
we're
with,
gonna,
yeah. Okay.
so we're gonna start getting you on NSTs, so
Yeah.
we can monitor her heart. And we recommend, based on just blood flow, based on seeing her, that you take the beta shot, the steroid shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute. So if she came out, the beta shot's only good for what, a week? If she came out now, she's too small to be put on ECMO. There's nothing you can do. So why are you recommending me take this shot to help her lungs, which in the grand scheme of things won't do anything if she can't be put on ECMO?
Were they afraid you would go into preterm labor?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're afraid she needed to come out.
Mm-hmm.
She needed to come out. And they were afraid I was going to get high drops because they started to see some fluid buildup. So they were afraid she needed to come out. But once you take the beta shot, you can't get another one. So let's say I take the steroid shot. Yeah. Okay. So it doesn't work twice. So if I took the steroid shot and she didn't come out, and let's say she comes out 2 weeks later, I can't take it again. That's what we were told.
I mean, Stanford, I get it. I had to, and everyone,
You did?
Yeah, I had two. Yeah, that's interesting. They said you can only have one. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I think ACOG says two. Yeah.
That's what I asked. I said, well,
okay.
Can we just get one now and then get one?
So you were trying to time it, let's time it and do this later. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Someone's listening going, you dumbasses. It's a totally different, I don't know. Whatever. We only know what we know. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Two totally different things. It's probably different things.
Right. And so I said no. Get me the fuck out of here. I want to go, and this is too much. I was breaking out in hives because of stress. My face, I took a picture because my face had bumps all over it. And I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here. This is not good for me. And so they discharged me after my husband was like, she need, this isn't helping. We're going to take the oxygen. The oxygen became available. We're going to leave. And so they, we got a hotel for the first few nights. And I kept coming back every day. I was still doing my oxygen. I worked out strapped to an oxygen tank. because
Bless.
I needed to
Yes.
work out. I needed to do something. So
Yes.
I put on a workout class and did it. I did the damn thing, like, because I
Nice.
needed it. I needed
Yeah.
it. Um, and they were like, okay, well, let's see how she does. Let's keep monitoring you. And so we got her on McDonald's, moved in there, kept coming back for echoes, checking on her, increasing my endo, decreasing my endo, just seeing kind of how she functions, because endomethacin does affect the kidneys. So her the amniotic fluid would decrease. And so then they had to drop the endomethacin, but then fluid around the organs would increase. So then they had to up the endomethacin. And so she was oligo a few times, which means the amniotic fluid was really, really low.
Hmm.
And so they were just, normally we would deliver you, but, we can't. So we're just going to watch her. So, um, we kind of just we had friends in Palo Alto. We saw them, kind of tried to just live life as much as we
Hmm.
could, like in and out of appointments. I would walk to Stanford, which was nice. Um, and then we go in and on a Friday, and she's 34 weeks and 6 days. And we go in for normal anatomy scan. Let's check everything. We're gonna go get dinner afterwards. And bless this ultrasound tech. I'm not gonna say her name, but bless her. She wasn't supposed to say anything, and she looked at the ultrasound. And oh, I forgot to mention, I knew this was gonna happen. That week I had taken the steroid shot
Okay.
because she had just hit the weight level of being on ECMO. She was I can't remember what the limit was, but she had just hit that. And so we were like, great, let's get the shot. So I got the shot, went in for this anatomy scan, and she was like, did you take the steroid shot? And I said, yes. And she's like, when did you take it? And I said, 2 days ago. You have one and then you have the other.
Yeah.
She's like, good. And I was like, is this bad? And she's like, yeah, they're going to admit you today. And she's just like, don't tell them I said that. But yeah, and then she showed me essentially the flow. It was reversal flow from the placenta.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah.
So,
Which can
um,
cause issues for you and
mhm,
massive
yeah,
illness. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So essentially the placenta was failing, I
Yeah.
guess. Like at this point, it was, you've talked about in your podcast, which is very true. The placenta is very like efficient, and it's
Hmm.
like an engine, and it'll run, 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 run until it can't run anymore, and
Hmm.
it'll just stop. And so
It was no longer
luckily,
pumping things to her. It was all coming back into the placenta. Is that
it
what
was
she
all
was saying?
coming back.
Okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
And
she was
so,
getting no blood and no nutrients, no oxygen. She wasn't getting
not
anything.
really,
Okay.
not
Oh,
really.
right. Right.
Um, not, it wasn't that bleak at that time, but it was starting to get bad.
Okay.
And so they admitted me again. They wanted her to grow. She wasn't. She was. She hit the limit, but ultrasounds, they don't actually
It's true. Yeah.
detect
They're
weight
not.
that accurately.
Yeah. You're going to have a 10-pound baby. Baby comes out 6.5 pounds. Okay. Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. So we were like, what the fuck? Like, what? Like, we don't know if she's going to make the
Yeah.
weight requirement. And so we get admitted. They put me on 24-hour monitoring. And this is one of the worst nights in my life. We we go to sleep. My husband's right next to me on the couch, and I'm on 24-hour monitoring. I can hear her heartbeat, and I wake up in the middle of the night, and a nurse or two nurses are like, hey, we're going to need you to move. We're going to need you to kind of turn over. And I'm like, okay. And I'm turning over, and I could hear how slow the heartbeat was. And I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, her heart rate's a little slow. We're going to try to get her. Maybe she's on her cord or something,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, And then they started kind of frantically doing it because it wasn't speeding up. And so they were moving me, moving me, moving
I've
me.
been there. Yeah, it
Finally,
is
yeah,
wild. It's a wild situation.
horrible, horrible.
You have no clothes
Get it?
on either. You are flying around
No.
and you're wondering what is happening, if this is even going to work. I have been there. Yes. Ooh,
Yeah. Yeah.
girl.
You're like, please, please, like, oh my God, like if there is a God, please, right now. Like, and my husband, I wear contacts, and so I didn't have glasses or anything, so I'm just blurred
Holy
vision.
shit,
Like,
girl.
Jordan, yeah. I was just like,
It's a
where is
friggin'
everyone?
literally nightmare. Okay, okay.
Nightmare.
Oh, you poor
They
thing.
get the heartbeat back. It starts going back up. And I'm like, okay, we're good. I'm like, like, okay, go back to sleep, you
What
know?
was that? Yeah.
So I do go back to sleep because they did drug me. Thank
Good.
God for drugs.
Yeah. Thank God.
And then I think like an hour or so later, same
Again.
thing happens.
Yeah.
Two nurses come in. Yeah, we're gonna need you to move. We're gonna need you to move. I'm waking up like, what? This time there's no heartbeat.
Ugh.
And so two more nurses come in, and then two more nurses come in, and I'm being moved on to my on all fours, move, move, and I'm like yelling my husband's name, like, and then I just remember them say, pull the plug, and they yank that thing out of the wall, and I remember my face like looking in the pillow, like it's gone, she's gone. Like, how is this happening to me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
10 nurses are in,
Mm-hmm.
finally find it, finally picking back up. I'm just like in tears, like what I can't, like I'm freaking out.
Yeah. And there's nothing you can do. And you're flailing about
No,
while these 15 women are like yelling to do things.
moving you.
Oof.
Yes, yes, move on your side. Turn. Okay, get on all fours. Okay, do this. And I'm just like, oh my God. So the next day, um, my MFM comes in and is like, she needs to come out today. And it was, you know, scheduled. It wasn't an emergency C-section. She scheduled it for 1 o'clock. She said we're going to have side by side ORs so that
Did,
as soon as she comes
yeah.
out, she can go in the next OR and
Okay.
get surgery.
Okay. Did they explain why her heartbeat was lost? Like what was that?
It had to do with the placenta and
Okay.
just not getting enough blood flow, and her heart just being abnormal.
Yeah.
Like it has irregular heartbeats, and I think, they explained this to me because her heart rate did slow the first time I was admitted. It slowed one time, and I was like, "What does that mean?" And they said, if you hook a pregnant mother with a healthy baby up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
the heart rate you will find some irregularities. Like that's just how a
I've
heart
actually heard that
is.
too. Yeah. Yeah.
But given her illness and what's going on with her, whenever that happens with her, it might mean something different, and we just need to be very wary of that. And if it's happening in a pattern,
Mm-hmm.
that's very bad. And then, through the span of the night, it happened twice, and so they were like, okay, she's better out than in. And so, yeah, I went in, got all the drugs. I wanted a doula. I got an anesthesiologist instead.
Hey.
He was awesome.
Yeah. they are pretty funny people, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. No, he was like, just right by my head. Like, what do you need? How you feeling?
Yeah.
Like, I'm freaking out, like, okay.
A little more. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And she came out, and I asked if I could give her a kiss before I was given the epidural and everything, and they said probably not. We're gonna have to rush her over, because I mean they reserved 2 ORs in Stanford. It's a pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Side by side. And so she came out. And then they took her immediately, and there was an OB, one of our OBs or MFMs in there with her, and texting Jordan, my husband, and so he was right next to my head while they were sewing me back up. telling me like, showing me photos of her. Like he was just anxious. And I was pretty close to being out. So
Yeah.
I was fighting sleep. But I remember his excitement and it was just like, oh my gosh, she made it. Okay. They're going to do surgery on her. Okay. Surgery went well. Great. Okay. Now they're going to put her on ECMO. And she went on ECMO with
Wow.
flying colors. And, so yeah, I mean, she was on ECMO and, I was recovering. I remember lying to the nurses so I could go see her because
Yeah.
they have all these tests you have to do, after you get a C-section. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I feel great.
Yeah.
Nope.
Passed a ton of gas. Not
Right.
gross. Don't ask me these questions.
Um, and
So
so
you
they
lied
would,
and they let you go see her. Yeah.
they let me go see her in pushed in a wheelchair, but I did the first time I saw her, I I remember feeling like I was gonna pass out, and they had to wheel me back because it was, if you're
Oh yeah.
recovering from surgery.
Yeah.
Um, and so she was on ECMO, and she was showing good sign, like she was taking it very well. They do little tweaks and stuff, and everything was looking good for the first week. And my husband would, while I was resting, he would attend rounds every morning and ask questions, take notes, report back to me. And they were going to wean her off. They were like, I think we can start weaning her off ECMO. She's probably going to need another heart surgery. But we don't know if it depends on how she gets off ECMO, if she need it immediately or in the future.
Do you know what
And
does
so
ECMO stand for something?
probably, but I don't know.
Okay.
I know
I'm
it's a
just
heart lung
curious.
machine.
It's a heart lung machine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So it takes the blood out, circulates it in a machine and pumps it back in. So every day
Okay.
she had a nurse that would attend to all of her lines, and then she'd have an ECMO nurse that was managing the machine, checking for clots.
Okay.
And so if there's a clot in the machine, they have to change out the whole circuit.
Mm.
And then she had an open chest, so she had to get a washout every 4 days or 5 days. So a lot of
Yeah.
trauma on this little body. Um, and so they started weaning her off. And they did like a test run and she did great. And so they're like, okay, I think we can wean her off. And so they weaned her off. Of course, they do this over a course of hours. And she was doing good, but her sat levels, like her oxygen levels, were going up
Mm-hmm.
and down. And then they were doing her, taking her labs. And I can't remember what the specific, something wasn't right. And I can't remember what that was, but it was every hour they would take her labs and they would look at it. And
Okay.
sometimes it would be great and other times it'd be really low.
Okay.
And they were like, if it's low one more time, we got to put her back on ECMO. And we're like, what? And then they take it and it'd be fine.
Yeah.
And this happened all night long.
Oh
So
my
we were in her
gosh.
room with her all night, every hour, going up to the nurse. What is it? What is it? What does it say? Oh, it's good. Next hour. Oh no, it's low again. All night long. We were up all night. Um, and so at this point, we had moved out of the Ronald McDonald House and we were living in a hospital room. So not a hospital room where they put patients, but they actually have like kind of mini hotel rooms at Stanford, which is amazing. So we had our own bathroom, our own bed, very sterile and
Mm-hmm.
boring, but I mean, it was 2 floors from her. It was wonderful. It was wonderful to be so close to her.
Yeah.
Um, and then so they did this all night, and then the next day the surgeon came in and was like, we're going to try one more thing, to try to get blood flow and try to lessen the pressure in the right ventricle and try to get blood flow circulating throughout her heart a little bit better. And so they took her in for surgery, and they said it's probably going to be a 3-4 hour surgery. It was like an 8-10 hour surgery. And we were told, at around the 8 hour mark, like she's looking really good. She's looking really good. But then we didn't hear anything. And we tried calling like the surgeon center where they have direct contact with the surgeons, like, hey, what's going on? We haven't got an update. We talked to the attending that was on the floor that day. She's like, last I heard, she's doing really well. She should be coming back to her room. Then we find out like at 11 o'clock at night, 10, 11 o'clock at night, that she was actually put back on ECMO.
Mm.
And the surgeon, who we're so blessed, she stayed with her, and she sat with her after the surgery and watched her, because
Wow.
she was like, I don't know if this is going to work. Because a couple hours passed and she looked really good. And then she stayed with her longer and was like, I want to see this. I don't know if this is going to work. And it didn't.
Wow. Wow.
So she came back to the room. And at this point, this is probably the point where things weren't looking good.
Right.
You know, she's back on ECMO. She's a tiny, they never even weighed her, but they predicted she's around 4 pounds, 13 ounces.
Yeah.
So little. And we, at this point, we got a call because, they take they do a genetic test and everything when they're born. And we got a call from the geneticist saying they want to speak to us in person. So we meet them, and they tell us she has a very, very rare genetic disorder called Pallister-Killian Syndrome, also known as PKS.
Unrelated to Ebstein's anomaly?
Unrelated, but it could be the reason she had an abnormal heart, because it is a mosaic disorder.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
And so they essentially said it's a spectrum. So we don't know what that means for her life, but it could mean she won't walk. She won't be able to talk. And there's not a high life expectancy.
Right.
So this was like kind of around, I don't even remember the order of things, but we find this out. We're like, okay, we're just going to stay the course and, like treat it like this is not related right now. We just want to kind of manage her and see how she does. And then this wild thing happened on Valentine's Day. Because she's on ECMO, she's at risk for a brain bleed. So they do an ultrasound on her brain every morning, and they found a significant brain bleed on Valentine's Day, and they told us, "I'm sorry, but that's it. Like,
this is the end of the road."
It's really awful. Yeah.
Oof.
And we were like, we were devastated. We had gone just a few days earlier. She's going to come off ECMO. We're going to do the surgery and it's going to be great. She did the surgery. She's looking great. To back on ECMO, and now she has a brain bleed. We were heartbroken. I remember screaming, and I remember screaming in the room with my dad, and like how awful that felt, like for my dad to see me like that. Like, yeah. I remember thinking that.
Yeah.
Like, God. And so they do a CAT scan. I think that's what it's called, a CT. I can't remember. But they move her into a machine that confirms the brain bleed. It's a more accurate test. Mm-hmm. And so they do that. We're screaming. And my husband's praying. And I've never seen him pray. And he's sitting there praying. And I remember looking over at him and saying, why are you praying? How can you pray to a God that would do this to us? Oof. And we aren't very religious. We're both Catholic, but my husband was just like, what if there's something he can do? What if there's something he can do? And I just felt like, I was like, no, I was just so negative and so pessimistic
mad.
in that moment.
Yeah.
Mad. Yeah. And so they did the CT, and the neurologist came to talk to us a few hours later. And she goes, I looked at the scan and I don't see the same thing that's on the ultrasound. there's no brain bleed.
Ugh.
And we're like, what? And she said, I'll show you. She showed me the images and they looked totally different.
Wow.
And I mean, how is this happening? How are they totally different? How did it cure itself? Um, got a call and we were in her room and the attending that day came up to us and said, so there is no brain bleed. The images were switched.
Who, some other baby had him? Oh shit.
Yeah, that was some other baby's ultrasound.
Hi, lawsuit.
Yeah.
Jesus, though. What?
Um, and yeah, it was it was
So,
pretty shocking.
I mean, I'm shocked. I wasn't even there. I mean,
Yeah,
your hope level was up and then down and then up again and up. My God, woman.
yeah.
Oh, your
It was,
nerves.
I mean, they were like, we are shocked. The head of like imaging at Stanford came to talk to us and said, in my 30 years, I've never seen this happen. I am so sorry. And if there's anything we can do, like to, I don't know. I was at a loss for words. And my husband literally says, just take care of that family.
Oof. Yeah, I was about to say,
Take care of that family. And
incredible
because we
response. Yeah.
were, yeah, like we felt that. And you know what? Like, as awful as that was, it was a moment of knowing that my daughter is going to die and I have no regrets. In that
Mm.
moment of believing that she was dying, I I had no regrets. I had no regrets on anything I did. And I got a glimpse into that. And that fear that we're going to regret something or that fear that we're
Mm.
not going to do something right. And I didn't have any. I would do everything the same.
That's powerful. Yeah.
And so um, she, she did live and for another 10 days. And then we had to make, they were kind of telling us, very communicative, telling us like, given her condition, we got to talk to palliative care and they were coming in talking to us about our decisions. And she could go through another heart surgery and it would be the single ventricle route and it would be the last kind of ditch effort. However, single ventricle is not a great surgery. It doesn't really lead to a longer life expectancy or a good quality of life. And especially with her condition, it was just something that it posed a big risk. It's a very risky surgery that could solve something for a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was very unlikely that she would live through the surgery. And so I kind of made the decision before my husband that I kind of knew what we had to do, and he was not on board. And I was just very patient, and I just was like, okay, this has to be unanimous. So I'm here, you're not. Let's keep talking to the doctors and let's keep caring for her, and we'll see where this goes. And eventually, he kind of came to the understanding that this was the best choice for her.
Mm-hmm.
And so on February 24th, the night before, actually, knowing that it was kind of her last day, the nurses were like, do you want to spend the night with her, like sleep with her? And we were like, yes. And they brought in a bed like next to her and they put her in a bed. And so Jordan and I every hour would switch off and lay next to her, and all the grandparents would visit and read to her and we'd sing to her. And we did all the things like footprints and
Yeah.
got a little lock of her hair and took photos. And but I had to ask for those things. I had to ask because of you and your podcast. I was like, I want photos. Can we get a photographer in here?
They
Can
didn't
we get
offer that stuff?
footprints? They offered like the little things, like
Yeah.
they offered footprints and stuff. and musical therapy, which was amazing, but not the photographer. I
Oh
had to ask for
gosh.
that.
I'm so glad you did that.
Um, yeah. And so, yeah. And then we spent the night with her, and um, then they took her off ECMO, and she was in my arms, and then we somehow leave. We
Yeah.
somehow leave the hospital. You know, it's wow, those first few days, man.
Well, you were
I didn't think I
fueled.
would live.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's it is a pain that feels lethal, and it's almost shocking that it doesn't kill us. You lived off of hope and almost like a routine for weeks, doing what people told you to do and what you thought you should do, and then leaving without her. I'm sure you probably looked around and was like, what the hell do I do now? Almost a lost feeling, I'm sure. Did you walk
yeah,
out still with no regrets?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
incredible.
We walked out. We walked out knowing um, I just couldn't bear putting her through another surgery. I couldn't like seeing. I hope no one sees their baby after surgery. It is horrible. It is horrible to see their body. Like,
Mm,
it's so much trauma. Like, a person that small shouldn't have to go through that
mhm.
once, let alone she had two major surgeries and I think two washouts, which is pretty much like a surgery. And her chest was open the entire time for the entire 27 days. Her chest was open and she was on ECMO for 26 of those days. And she she fought so hard, and like my husband was putting she had her own room with two TVs. Like she had like a little VIP like little quarter, and my husband put up all these photos of inspiring women.
Yeah.
He put up Sally Ride first, random.
Oh,
So everyone
oh,
everyone who'd come into
I
a
did
room would think
I
we were
actually know
related
who
to
that
Sally
is.
Ride.
That's so
Yeah.
funny. I did a book report on her in the 5th grade. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what what did the early days look like? Did the staff keep in touch? Did you ever talk to anybody again? What ended up happening after you
Um
left?
I you know, I could no. I
Yeah.
contacted my MFM. Like she would keep in touch with me, check in on me. Um, and but yeah, those first early days, honestly, we watched so much reality TV.
Hell yeah.
Like it. What is that?
I don't
What
know.
is that?
I brought the actual Fire Stick to the hospital so I could
Yes,
watch stuff. Yes. I
yes.
kid you not.
We
Yeah.
watched Amazing Race
Yeah.
on my husband's laptop in the hospital bed before she was born. We watched Amazing Race on, and then we get home and we watch Below Deck, and it just for hours we would just have it on, and
I think because it has no end. There's no depression when like
yeah,
when a movie ends or like some fictional stories, you're like, no one knows shit about life. And then it ends and you feel kind of depressed. But like reality just keeps going and going and going. And it's like for a second you get to crawl out of your own reality. It became almost like these people were a distraction from what was actually happening. It was so much more than a reality show. I completely get that. I mean, it was after Brody was born, I had really, really, really bad blood pressure. I mean, like stroke level, but I lied and was like, I feel fine, and like left and had to go back. But the night that we were home, my sister in law was like, you guys should binge Summer House. And I was like, okay, I'm a disaster shell of a human being. I'll do anything to take my mind off of what happened. So we binged like 5 or 6 episodes. I actually woke up the next morning with a pounding headache, blurry vision. My blood pressure was like 200 over whatever, 1,000. It was horrible. So I went back to the hospital. I was like, get the damn Fire Stick. I am not going without it. I'm not kidding. So we brought the Fire Stick, we shoved it into the TV in my room, and we like camped out. And then when Wolfie was born, like emergency, my sister was like, what do you guys need? I'm like, get the Fire Stick. I swear to God. And then when
Love
they
it.
gave me the service for the hospital, I was like, petition for smart TVs. So we get
Seriously.
distraction in L&D. Let's go. Yeah, it's
Or at least a Peacock subscription or something.
brilliant. A Peacock would get it done. I'm not kidding. If I only had Peacock, I'm good.
Okay.
There's so many reality shows. It's endless. I have to watch the
Yeah.
Vanderpump Villa one, though. I haven't watched that yet, but that's Hulu. So just stack on another
Yeah, I know.
subscription.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Reality
We
Hub.
no, we are
I get it.
all in. I honestly think the day we got back from Stanford, like we started watching Perfect Match
I've heard
because
good
that had just
things.
come out, and we like, what?
What
Who
is this
are we?
garbage
What is
trash?
this?
Yeah, what is this
And
nonsense? Yeah.
we would sit and watch TV, and then one of us would just start sobbing, and we would have this
Mhm.
code word kind of, and we'd call it train because it felt like a train just hit you. And
Mhm.
so I would start sobbing, and Jordan would pause it and be like, train. I'm like, train. And we would just cry, and then we would play. And it was just that was how you get through. That's how you get through. You
And
just
and
have to cry.
and let's not forget your postpartum still. Like you were doing all
Right.
this postpartum. Were you pumping
Yep.
to give her
So I
milk?
pumped in
What
the
was that?
hospital.
Okay, okay.
I still, yeah, I did. I was pumping in the hospital, and we were giving her little tiny like
Mhm.
droplets of milk, and then I froze all my milk, and then I stopped pumping. When by the time we got home, I had stopped, and I didn't.
Yeah.
Luckily, didn't have any issues with that. And then I ended up just donating all my milk. Um,
Amazing. Yeah.
and so, yeah, 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 I was pumping, and oh God, isn't the curtain? If I see, I the curtain that they
Oof.
pull over you to pump, and like just staring at the curtain and just like I
Oh
remember that
yeah.
feeling so vividly, just hearing the doctors talk to Jordan, or hearing, like, oh my gosh, it takes me back.
But it feels
it's
like that's
it's
the
just wild.
only thing you can do as her mother is to get her just some
Yeah,
of this tiny bit of milk if you could. And but also
totally.
thinking like she might come home and I need to continue my supply. Like that's so fucked up. Like that's your brain not really knowing what the
Yes.
right answer is, I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, and we'd have my parents would be here, like, we're gonna set up the nursery, and like I needed to order drapes, and this was a whole thing with me, was like, I gotta order her drapes, but what if she doesn't make it? I don't want to have drapes sitting in my house, but if she does, I want her drape. Like, just crazy
Yeah.
things.
No, you
And
were living in a
I
legit purgatory. You were in a
yeah.
skewed alternate universe where everybody else is living their lives. I don't know if it felt like you were like underneath in the water, like when you would leave and see people just going to the grocery store, walking their dog. You're like, how the fuck are you breathing so normally? Like for her
Yes.
to breathe. Yeah. It is a wild. I'm going to admit, I very, very, very different circumstances. I very a 5.5 NICU week stay for us. And I just remember, the questioning, like, is this going to turn out okay? That questioning I can relate to, but a completely different story. Absolutely. I recognize that.
Yeah.
I just remember walking out of the hospital, like I was walking out of like a cave and then just being like, how are you people acting normal? Like, this is the strangest thing. Did family and friends like try to like, hey, let's go do some fun stuff? Like, did they ever try to do that? Or how were they during that time?
Not while we were in the hospital. People just sent us gift cards for DoorDash, and which was amazing.
Such a
God,
great gift.
love DoorDash.
The most underrated
Yes.
gift on the planet.
Yes. Like I couldn't think about eating, and then it would be like my mom or my husband's mom would just show up like, here, we got bagels, eat. And I would just eat and go
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Coffee, go back. Like, and so no, people didn't try to get me
Yeah.
out. Okay. Yes. The doctors, and because we were literally living from our room 2 floors up to Caroline's room, back up to shower,
Oh,
back
girl.
down. like back and forth. And so they did try to get us to go on walks, and we did occasionally, but it was very hard to leave her.
Oh my God, yeah.
But it was the same feeling. Like we went somewhere to get smoothies or I don't know. And I remember just looking around, like I wanted to scream, how
Yeah.
can you just be out here right now?
Right.
How can
Right.
you just be
Right.
living your normal life? Like, do you
Right.
know what's going on with me? Like,
Right. And it's like a jealousy or like a I hate you,
yes.
like, or a will I
Yeah.
ever feel normal again? Will I ever
Yes.
be able to do what that
Yeah.
person is doing? Like, obviously, we're assuming that, our law, our what's happening with us is the worst thing that's ever happened to a human being. Obviously, people go through stuff all the time. But I just remember being like, you people don't know anything. Like, it's such a weird place to be in. How did you it just sounds like you guys were so hopeful so many times. And while I
Mhm.
absolutely love that you held on to that, I think it makes the process, it makes the ending just so hard, much harder, for lack of a better word. But how did you manage to keep the hope during that time? Like, just in case someone else is listening and needs to hear this, would you tell them to hold on to hope? Like that, sorry, this is like a really intense question.
No, no. I mean, yeah, I would. I would. I struggled. I'm not
Mm,
gonna lie. I would see, even now I look at, you know, mothers with babies in, the NICU or going through cardiac issues, and I'm like, God, like how are they so positive? How are they doing that? Because it was so hard. It was so hard for me.
they're lying.
Just every time we would go into like get any type of news, it was bad. Like
Mhm.
there were two times where things looked okay and they would have to kind of bring us back down because we would get really excited and they'd be like, okay, but she's still really sick, you guys. Like just making sure you aren't like you're aware of that. And we're like, no, we know. We're just trying to, celebrate the little wins. And my husband was positive, 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 hopeful throughout the whole thing. Like, and I don't know, like maybe it was an instinct, mother's instinct, but
Mm,
I really struggled. I really struggled to like think about like we never bought a car seat.
mhm.
We just and it wasn't it was just like God that and the day when she was in the surgery and they said the surgery went well and they were kind of watching her, that was the closest we got to buying a car seat. We were like
Mm.
kind of talking about it.
Mhm, mhm.
Um,
Could they have
and I feel guilty. I feel
about what?
guilty about I feel guilty that I wasn't all in on her survival. That I wasn't like she's going to live, she's going to do this, she's got this. Like I feel guilty about that. I wish I could have been more hopeful, but I do know as you said, the fall, like your brain can't help but protect yourself because the fall from that is so great. It's
Mhm.
so great. And I was so scared of that fall that I felt like I needed to like kind of have that anticipatory like what am I going to do if she doesn't make it, and that's what led me to your podcast, and that's what led me to talking to Allie and reaching out to her and being like what am I going to do if she doesn't make it. And Allie was just incredible, and she was a big part of like I got home and I reached, we were talking and I was like, can I talk to you on the phone? She's like, absolutely, let's set up a phone call. And I was like, oh my God, like it felt like the one thing in my life that it that was good, I guess, like for lack of a better term. Like I look forward to talking to her. I was like, I'm gonna talk to somebody who's been through this.
Holy
Like
shit, yeah, yeah.
that is huge. And
Oof.
it was I was telling everyone, like I feel like a crazy person. I'm telling my aunts, like, I'm gonna talk to another lost mom. Like they're like, great, it sounds good. Like I just
Well,
was
it was
so
more than that. It was more it was somebody physically walking the life almost as if in the future for you. Like, what would your
yes,
life look like if she doesn't make it?
yes,
And if Allie is what it looks like, girl, like you're gonna be okay. Even ugh, God, air quotes for anybody listening. even though right now it's like you're in a hole, like, and you don't have any clue how you're going to be able to survive this or move forward or what this looks like. Because again, unfortunately, the hospital is just current, what's happening right now, right now, right now. And they don't, nobody is there to brace you for, hey, this is not going to go the way that you want, but we're going to prep you for that. Like that doesn't, that's not a conversation.
No.
So for you to seek that out, like, there's nothing that prepares you for the death of your child. I know that, even if you know it's coming. But did it brace the impact out of just curiosity, knowing what to do next?
Yes. It reaching out to these lost moms. I think I reached out to a few. I think I reached out to Sarah with Nathaniel.
Oh God, she's
Um,
fantastic.
she is. And her son, I think I reached out to her specifically because her son was on life support and she had
Mhm.
to make that decision. And that was like, because it's one thing like being a lost mom, and then another thing like having to almost in your mind, I'm
Choose to be one.
choosing
Woo.
to be one when in reality it's not a choice. It's not. You're doing what's best for your child. That's the choice. Is I'm going to do whatever's best for them, and sometimes it looks like that. And but I
Yeah.
couldn't shake that feeling of like, how can I choose to do this? How
Right.
can I make
Right.
this decision?
Right. For some
And
of us,
I
we were
needed
not aware we were entering into it. It was happening without our knowledge. For y'all,
right,
you were there when you switched categories into one. Holy, that's that's intense. And to know that there's someone else who's already done this before, I I I, I think that's helpful in the sense where you feel so wrong in making that decision. And for
yeah,
someone like Sarah to have already done it out of, and it's out of love. It, and that someone reminding you that it's not because you're tired or you're over it or you've given up. It's just, it's purely out of love, the decisions that you made all the way up to the very end. And the decisions that you still make are because you love her. Everything is the foundation of love.
100%, 100%. And just like, yeah, just getting to talk to somebody like who's done that and who continues to live. Like
It's so
that's the biggest
brave,
thing.
girl.
How do you survive?
You,
How do you survive?
I feel like I haven't heard yet from a mama who preemptively found lost moms before it happened. I think a lot of times people don't want to accept that reality or even think about that reality or even prep themselves for it because it's all going to be fine. You, you're probably one of the few that I've even heard that did it before, just prepped yourself for it. Because it's always those who are scrambling after, like, oh my God, now what? But you did it prior to it. And I know you are probably now doing that for others, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, now
And I
you
mean
are.
that's
As soon as
why.
this airs,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
buckle
I mean
up.
that's pretty much why, I wanted to speak and share a story is like
Mhm.
I want to be that person for somebody going through it because in that moment you're right. People come
Yeah.
to you and tell you it's going to be okay. People come to you and like you will survive this and you're like, have you lost a child? Why are you talking to me? I don't want to talk to you. All you want to talk to are people who've gone through this. And so just finding that, and like I said, I had, when you shower, when you're changing, or what I needed to fill the silence with something,
Mhm.
and to hear stories from these amazing mothers, and like to get through it. And I was like, okay, so uh, people have done this before.
Mhm.
Wow,
Mhm.
like this is
Mhm.
incredible. This is incredible. Um,
And
and I
you
mean, I
just did a
hope it doesn't come
year.
to that, but
Yeah.
yeah. So that's another piece that I want to share is so her birthday was on the 28th, and 2 days later I found out I was pregnant.
Mm.
Her and I had been so I had been I had been kind of tracking my ovulation, just starting to do that again, like
Mhm.
trying to see what's going on. And my, for all you ladies who know what LH is. It, tells you when your ovulation is about to happen. And my LH was really high for 7 days. And
Mm.
I was like, what's going on? What's going on with me? No one could answer. My doctor didn't know. I Googled deep into the dark web, which you're not supposed to do. And someone said, in a forum, you might be pregnant. Took a pregnancy test. It was like cycle day 18 or something. It was positive. Um, I was like, that's weird because I got my period and everything. And so that was, this January. And then so I started, my doctor's like, let's check your HCG levels. They were very high. But I still was like, this is just weird because I definitely got my period. And they're like, no, that's implantation bleeding. I was like, no, that wasn't my period, but okay. And so we were going to leave the country on vacation early February. So I wanted to just make sure everything was okay. And I told the doctor, I want to get an ultrasound. I want to make sure everything is okay. And they were like, well, it's really early, so we're not going to see much. You should come back when you get back from your trip. And I'm like, is there any way I can rule out like an ectopic or something? Because God forbid I get on a plane and something were to happen. And they're like, well, we can refer you to imaging and get like a high res ultrasound, and they'll be able to look through your uterus and find, the embryo.
Great.
And I was like, great, sounds good. I'll do it. My husband was very supportive, but also like, think you're a little paranoid, honey. Like,
No, I think you're
like, I'm like, what?
brilliant. That's what I would do. Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? I just need this piece because
Yeah.
something doesn't feel right. And no symptoms, nothing, no symptoms, just want to get it checked. Go in, get it checked by myself because I'm like, honey, you don't need to come. This is just getting, quick ultrasound, come home. Go in and get an ultrasound. And yeah, I got called and said it was an ectopic pregnancy and
Oh
I
my
need
God.
surgery immediately.
Holy shit. You called it.
Yeah. And
Damn, I'm sorry.
yeah. And my OB was he was just, well, the OB did my surgeries, not my OB, but he was just very like, I've never seen anyone come in. You didn't, like, he was like, you didn't have any symptoms? It's like, no. And he's like, this has never happened where someone's come in on just an instinct to
Mhm.
get a check. And 2 days before I left the country to find an ectopic and
Yeah, that could
get
have been
surgery to remove it.
horrible.
Yeah.
It would have been
And
life
so,
threatening. Yeah.
yeah, yes, absolutely. And so I just wanted to make sure I shared that story because I want women to advocate for themselves and advocate for getting those extra tests. And don't, if you feel something is off, just get a check. And it doesn't mean something is, it just means that you know your body better than anyone. And, luckily the doctors are very supportive and like, okay, we can get a check, but the fact that like I had shared all this information, like my LH has been really high, like for multiple days. And, I had to go down in the deep dark web to even take a pregnancy test. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, I just want women to advocate for themselves. Like,
Mhm.
you are going to be the one that makes the decisions and gets to decide what tests happen when, and don't let anyone say no. Don't let anyone tell you like, you don't need that. Like, no,
I
you
love
do,
that.
even if it's for your sanity. Like,
Yeah.
you need to
Pull the
do it.
card. Pull the I need it for my mental sanity, my mental health. Pull the mental health card because that's
Pull
literally
the card.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And typically when you
Yeah.
say I just need peace of mind, they will say, okay. Because if you try to diagnose yourself and tell them their jobs, they sometimes are like, no. And I hate that. I hate that about the system. Like, listen to us, But I'm really glad it's a
Yeah.
wonderful message. And you could save so many people who just are just really struggling with their gut and people are telling them no. Thank you for telling the
Yeah.
whole story. And I know that people are going to reach out to you
Yeah.
now. So you're passing the torch, which is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, that is the only way I really got through it is through this community. Truly, truly. Like, this community is a lifeline, and use it. Use it. Um, I reached out to so many women, and all of them have just been so incredible. And don't judge. Don't, like, even when you have a moment. I remember first time feeling happy,
Mm,
and it just felt awful. It felt
mhm,
awful. But, and these women are there for it all. We're there for it all. And so,
mhm,
yeah, like, I love, like, the message of turning your pain into purpose. And, we've kind of done, we're kind of putting bags together for NICU families and everything. And I encourage women to do that too. And if you don't feel called to it, don't do it. There is no right way to grieve. There's no wrong way to grieve.
mhm,
Like, just
mhm,
be in your body and just feel everything. And
mhm.
don't feel guilty about doing something or not doing something.
That's great. Very helpful. Well, I'm gonna put your information, probably your Instagram
Yeah.
handle. Which one do you want me to put?
You can put either. I
Okay.
I go on my personal one a little bit more, so you can put that
Okay.
one on if
Okay.
you want. People can reach out to me and learn more about Caroline and kind of what we do. So
Excellent. No,
yeah,
absolutely.
no,
And
this has been wonderful.
if you're in the Sacramento area, hit each other up, go out, get some drinks, do some fun stuff,
Yeah,
cry together, laugh together, do all the things. I
let's do
really
it.
love it when everybody connects. So thank you so much again. I'm happy we got this, and I think it's going to help a lot of people, girl. You and Caroline
Awesome.
doing big things.
Yeah.
Big hugs to you.
Oh, yeah. Thanks so much. Again, truly an honor, and we're doing this. We're doing it. Doing the
Girl, you
thing.
you about to get some messages. Welcome
Yeah.
to it. I love seeing mamas pass the torch. I really do. And I think it's really
Yeah,
important that we do that. That's the only way we can parent, honestly, is to
for
help
sure.
other mamas. All right, girl, this is going out tomorrow. Woohoo!
Oh, wow. You were
Quick,
quick.
maybe Sunday. Let's see how this goes. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, girl. We'll talk
Yeah.
soon.
You too.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.